Hi there. My name is Selma, also known as Selma123 on Ravelry. I'm an occasional podcaster with Sue and Lynne on the Tangled Skeins. And recently when I was on, there was a question after from a viewer asking about how I knit. I guess she was asking whether I was a thrower or a picker. And I thought rather than trying to explain it in the thread, I'd just do a little video about it. Because I've also had a couple of other people ask me about purling, people who like to try different methods of knitting and wondering about purling in Continental. And I find that amazing because honestly I can only knit in one style. I learned when I was 9, and the way I learned is the way I knit. I've never been able to try any other style, or even I just can't seem to do it. It's so automatic for me now. So I think it's fantastic that people try different types of or different styles of knitting. I'm going to show you my knit and my purl. My purl is not as efficient as I would like it to be. I definitely purl more slowly than I knit. I think that's probably not a terribly uncommon thing for people to be able to knit faster than they purl, but I'll show it to you, and if you can even make it more efficient, well, that would be great, and please show me. All right, so first I'm just going to show you a little bit about how I tend to hold my yarn. I'm working on the handbrake cowl, which I showed during the episode that we just filmed, and generally I've got the 2 needles, of course, and I tend to hold the yarn between my index and my ring finger, and I hold on to it kind of from the back. Once I start knitting, I kind of loosen it and tighten it as I need it to be, and I use my index finger to kind of gauge everything. So my index finger on my left hand tends to be the finger that moves on that hand. The rest of the hand pretty much just stays unless I need to readjust the yarn. I tend to bunch up the stitches on my left needle so that I don't have to readjust very often. So that's sort of how it looks from that side of things, and how I hold the yarn and everything. I try to keep things as close as possible so that it's as efficient as possible and I don't have to move as much. All right, so now I'll show you how to do how I do the knit. All right, so here we are, and as you can see, I've got my yarn there around my fingers. I've got my stitches bunched up. I'm holding here, and I go through as anybody would to do a knit. And it's interesting that the question was whether I was a thrower or picker, because I think on a certain level my index finger is moving towards the needle to actually do the knit. I mean, the needle goes through, but it's my index finger that tends to go and hook it over. And I bunch up and then I go. I hope you can see that. So it just goes through and I hook, through, hook, and then once I can go, I just go. Okay, this is actually a little bit stretched because it's not a very big cowl. So it's really just meeting, and I just keep on going. Okay, so that is the knit stitch, the way I do it. Now when it comes to purl, you go in through the back as you would in any purl, and I think what ends up happening, first I've noticed, because when I had to observe how I was doing this, I noticed that I use my thumbs a lot when I purl. When I knit, it's really mostly just the index finger, and my right thumb sort of grabs the stitch when it goes onto the needle. When I purl, I go through the back, I hook with my index finger, and I use my right thumb to guide the stitch through. So let's do that again. And I tend to lift my needle, my thumb, put it back onto the stitch, hook it, and then guide it through with my thumb again. So my right thumb is kind of going up and down, and I'm hooking it through. My left thumb is sort of allowing the stitches to go up the needle, kind of like like you're letting beads off a string. And that's essentially how I do it. So my index finger is on my left hand is the one that really is doing most of the work, because when I put the needle through the stitch, it doesn't really move much. It's more my other fingers that do it. So that's how I knit and purl. And hopefully this will be useful to you. And if you have any comments about it or any questions or anything, please feel free to post in the thread. I know, if I go again. Take care, everybody.